good afternoon, one and all. Myself, Dr. Praveen Kumar TD, Assistant Professor, Vijaya Teachers College, heartily welcoming you all to the today's program, 2 days national webinar on NEP 2020. I want to say thanks to you all because you have made yourself feel free and to be part of this 2 days national webinar NEP 2020. We all know that why we are gathered here in this online platform today. It is the time to know, to understand, and to analyze the National Education Policy 2020. Let's make use of this platform and make familiarize the strategies and challenges of New Education Policy 2020. So we are going to start the today's program by formally with the invocation. I am requesting Srimati Lakshmi BM, Assistant Professor, Vijaya Teachers College for the invocation. Over to you, ma'am.
ಶರಣು ಗಜಮುಖ ಕುವಾಹನ ಶರಣು ಸುರಗಣ ಸೇವಿತ ಶರಣು ಸಕಲಾಭೀಷ್ಟದಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ಗಜಮುಖ ಕುವಾಹನ ಶರಣು ಸುರಗಣ ಸೇವಿತ ಶರಣು ಸಕಲಾಭೀಷ್ಟದಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಹೇಮಕಚಿತ ಕಿರೀಟ ಕುಂಡಲ ಕಾಮಿತ ಫಲದಾಯಕ ಅಮಿತ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ಪ್ರಬಲ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೋದ್ಧಾಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಶರಣಿಧೆ ಶರಣು ಗಜಮುಖ ಕುವಾಹನ ಶರಣು ಸುರಗಣ ಸೇವಿತ ಶರಣು ಸಕಲಾಭೀಷ್ಟದಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಪಾಶಮೋದಕ ಪರಶುಧರ ಫಣಿಭೂಷ ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ನಂದನ ವಾಸವಾರ್ಚಿತ ವಿಜಯ ವಿಠಲನ ದಾಸಭೂ ಗಣನಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ಗಜಮುಖ ಕುವಾಹನ ಶರಣು ಸುರಗಣ ಸೇವಿತ ಶರಣು ಸಕಲಾಭೀಷ್ಟದಾಯಕ ಶರಣು ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಶರಣು 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 ಶರಣು.
It is a spiritual movement. We have eminent personalities with us in the today's 2 days national webinar NEP 2020. Now I am requesting Dr. P.T. Meena, Principal, Vijaya Teachers College, to welcome the gatherings and also introduce the chief guest to the audience. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I appreciate your interest in exploring the opportunities in this situation by joining our online webinar on National Education Policy 2020. I would like to introduce and welcome today's inaugural speaker, Dr. R.V. Prabhakara, sir. Now, sir guides the institution
Hello, sorry for the inconvenience. There is a technical error, so it may be, it will continue with a few seconds.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Now, RVP sir guides the institution as the Vice President of BHS Higher Education Society. Sir served as member of Pre-University Mathematics Syllabus Committee. RVP sir, behalf of Vijaya Teachers College staff member, I welcome you, sir. It's my immense pleasure to introduce and extend a cheerful welcome to today's eminent resource person, Professor S. Niranjan Das, former principal of Vijaya Teachers College. Sir served as member of School Science Syllabus Committee, Government of Karnataka, served as member of Board of Examiners, Bangalore University. He was member of Karnataka School Quality Assessment Organization, Department of Public Instruction, Sarva Shikshana Abhiyana, Government of Karnataka. Sir has served rich experience in educational field. Sir, I am very happy to welcome to this session. Behalf of BHS Higher Education Society and Vijaya Teachers College, welcome to the session, sir. I would like to extend my warm welcome to Dr. K. Sameera Sinha, Dean of Vijaya Teachers College and Joint Secretary of BHS Higher Education Society. Sir is the patron of this webinar. Behalf of Vijaya Teachers College, I welcome to you, sir. I thank all of you taking out of your busy schedule and joining us for this webinar. Behalf of Vijaya Teachers College, welcome you all. I extend my warm welcome to Dr. G.C. Harish, IQAC Director. Welcome to you, sir. I welcome all my faculty members. You are the backbone of this program. I welcome each and everyone, those who directly and indirectly supporting us. Welcome everyone. Thank you. Over to Dr. T.D. Praveen Kumar, sir.
My heartfelt welcome to you also for this today's program, ma'am. Now, it is a time I requesting Dr. R.V. Prabhakara, Vice President, BHS Higher Education Institution, Higher Education Society, for his inaugural speech. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope I am audible. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
You are audible, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, it is audible. It is completely clear.
Okay. Today is a great day because we have arranged a webinar on national education policy, which is being introduced from next year onwards. This workshop is a very good workshop because we should know before starting this new education policy in our institutions, the details about all the various facts that are there in the NEP. Now, for this, you have invited Professor Niranjan Das, who was one of the great teachers and also the principal of Vijaya Teachers College. And then We have also invited Dr. T.K. Sundarlakshmi, they are going to speak on various aspects of new education policy. I want to take this opportunity to tell you something about my great teachers. The first teacher that I am going to speak is my father. He was a mathematics teacher in the high school in which I was studying in Arkalgood, Hassan district. He taught me how to teach mathematics. That is how I got interest in mathematics. I became the mathematics teacher after completion of my MSc. The second teacher which I want to mention is one Mr. G. who is the younger brother of Guru Ramaswamy Iyengar, who was a great literary personality. Both of them are not there now, but I remember him because he taught me Bhagavad Gita. And then he also encouraged me by giving a prize for the acting in one of the dramas, Kittu Puttu. And that he gave me the very beautiful pen, and which I am keeping it even now. That is the second teacher. The third teacher is my teacher, G.R. Ramaswamy Iyengar, who taught me English grammar, both Wren and Martin and Spite and Sethi. These two books I completed when I was a student of that high school. Apart from this, I want to tell you something about Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, who himself was a great teacher of philosophy in Mysore University. You know what a great teacher he was. He was liked by so many students, even though they did not belong to the philosophy department. They used to attend his lectures because his lectures used to be very interesting. The entire university fraternity of students used to come and attend Dr. S. Radhakrishnan's lectures. Unfortunately, when he was a teacher there, he was transferred to Calcutta University by the government of India. At that time, all these students felt very bad because they are losing a great teacher in Mysore. At that time, every day he used to go to the, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan used to go to the university by a tanga, which is famously called Mysore tanga. And the horse used to drag him. And then at that time, when he was transferred, all these students decided that instead of a horse dragging the tanga, all of us will drag the tanga to the Mysore railway station to send him off. Such a great response that he got from the students. He was respected by each and everyone. Such a great, that is the reason why he told the people of India that his birthday should be celebrated as Teachers' Day. The second personality that I want to speak about is, Abraham Lincoln was the President of United States of America. He has written the headmaster of his son. The letter goes like this. I just want to read that. It's very interesting and also it will be very useful to our teachers. Respected sir, my son will have to learn, I know, that all men are not just, all men are not true, but teach him also that for every scoundrel there is a hero, and that for every selfish politician there is a friend. Teach him, if you can, that every dollar earned is of more value than 5 found. Teach him to learn to lose and also to enjoy winning. Teach him the secret of quiet laughter. Teach him to have faith in his own ideas, even if everyone tells him they are wrong. Teach him to be gentle with gentle people and tough with tough people. Teach him all that is good to become a human being. This is a very beautiful letter written by Abraham Lincoln to the headmaster of the school in which his son was studying. The third personality which I want to mention here is my own guru in my MSc classes, Dr. Gar. He was a professor of mathematics and a great Sanskrit scholar. When I was studying in the MSc classes in mathematics during 1964 to 1966 at Karnataka University, Dharwad, I was very fortunate to have him as my teacher. He was my great teacher because today I am following whatever method that he adopted and the discipline that he adopted in his teaching. The discipline in which he was teaching mathematics was extraordinary. He never used to repeat any sentence or statement. He used to write on the blackboard very legibly, and we used to understand all that he taught only once. He never used any textbooks while teaching. He has also written a translation of Valmiki Ramayana into Kannada. For completing this work in 2 volumes, he took 14 years. See the patience and discipline. I wanted to pay my tributes to him, and hence I wrote a book in Kannada, Kannada Valmiki Ganita Kalanidhi, Dr. C.N. Srinivasa Baduku Sadhane, in the year 2011. This book was released by Dr. Mathur Krishnamurti. I have learned discipline and the method of teaching from Dr. Srinivasa. Finally, I would tell the speciality of 2 words in English. English. One is discipline, the other one is attitude. If you write the correct spelling of discipline, you must write the correct spelling, because if you miss one single letter, then the calculation will not be all right. So discipline, I will read the spelling: DISCIPLINE. Discipline. If you go on giving marks for all these letters, for example, for A you have to give 1 mark, for B you have to give 2 marks, for C 3 marks, for D 4 marks, etc. So here, if I give the marks like that, the marks will be 4, 9, 19, 3, 9, 16, 12, 9, 14, 5. If you total all these numbers, it will become 100. Very interesting. Similarly, attitude. If you write the correct spelling of attitude, A, T, T, I, T, U, D, E. In the same way, if you give the marks 1, 20, 20, 9, 20, 21, 4, 5. If you total it, it will also become 100. So if you have got discipline and the right attitude, then everything will be all right, and you will be successful in your endeavor. Whatever field that you are in, you will be very, very successful. There is a difference between winner and a loser. I just want to read these things. Number 1 is, winner is always a part of the answer. Loser is always a part of the problem. Number 2, winner has always a program. Loser has always an excuse. Number 3, winner sees the answers in the problem. Loser sees the problem in the answer. Number 4, winner says it may be difficult, but it is possible. Loser says it may be possible, but it is too difficult. So this kind of attitude will be there for the winner and loser. I don't want to take much of your time, because we are all very eager to listen to Professor Niranjan Das and also the other lady, Dr. Sundar Lakshmi. I'm sure that this NDP is a very good workshop that arranged. I should congratulate the principal, the staff of Vijaya Teachers College, organizing such a beautiful workshop, 2-day workshop, maybe called as a webinar, doesn't matter. That's why Modi said, let us be a part to do our part. That is the slogan that he has given. And also, he has also told about the new education policy. When he was addressing the committee people, all the committee members, the president of the committee and also the members of the committee, he was addressing. At that time, he told, if the teachers take interest, our nation will grow upwards. Therefore, we shall all strive hard to see that all of us will follow the teachings of the teachers, great teachers, and also whatever Modi has told. And we should be thankful to Modi because after so many years, they are changing the education policy. We were following a pattern which was very, very bold and also it was not so useful. But this new education policy definitely will help us in all our activities in our life, and also students will be benefited, teachers will be benefited. Therefore, we should take interest in understanding the new education policy. Whatever is mentioned there in the policy, we shall follow word by word, letter by letter, so that our nation will grow. We should be thankful to Modi for bringing change during this corona period. Even though this corona is there, doesn't matter. Even then, we are having the workshops like this called webinars. By sitting at home only, we are interacting in the process of this webinar. I wish all the participants the best of luck. I happily inaugurate this particular workshop, two-day workshop, a two-day webinar on new education policy. Wish you all the best, all the people. And the invocation song was very good. She prayed for God, Ganesha, and then definitely these 2 days workshop or seminar, webinar will be a great success. Thank you very much.
Thank you for valuable inaugural speech, sir. Now, we reach the exact center point of today's program. That is, we the Vijaya Teachers College organizing a 2 days national webinar on NEP 2020 with Association of IQAC. Now, we have to know that the today's first day's session, that is handled by the eminent speaker, Professor S. Niranjan Das, former principal of Vijaya Teachers College, Jayanagar. So I am heartily welcoming you and take over the session, sir. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon to everyone on this webinar. I am very happy to be here this afternoon associating with the Vijaya Teachers College, which has thought of a webinar on an important aspect of our national agenda, National Education Policy 2020. I would like to thank the principal of the college, Dr. Meena, the organizing secretary of the webinar, Dr. Harish, and the other young faculty, Dr. Praveen and Suresh, who were able to set up all these things for the day and tomorrow. Now, I would like to be very specific. I am not going to go to the page by page of the document at all, because the task given, accepted by me, is limited to school education, specifically certain challenges and also certain strategies that we can think of or even visualize you all on our side too. So I hope that most of you would have gone through this document running to about 400 plus pages, where you have things under school education and also higher education running to something like 23 chapters, plus addendum running to 1 and 2. So those who have gone through this document with some patience, maybe you will be able to catch up with me, because I'm not going to read anything from the document or repeat verbatim from the document. Let me start off saying, focusing on the vision. You already read the vision. I would like to look at the vision and reflect like this. India-centered education, not to lose the diversity, sustainable with clear-cut goal setting, and equitable, exercising desirable honesty, and vibrant to match the 21st century challenges and even further. And lastly, high quality, not with a small money usually set aside for education. This you all know. With this, my reflection on vision, I would like to come to the various list out the chapters of this school education, we'll see that there are 4 parts here: school education, higher education, and then some key areas, then lastly making it happen. Then in the next slide, you find 8 chapters being listed: ECCE, then foundation literacy and numeracy, then about the dropouts, then coming to very important chapter on curriculum and pedagogy, then teachers to be focused, then equitable and inclusive education for all, and the 7th one being the governing aspect of the schools, and lastly under the school education is how the whole thing could be monitored or accredited. Now, looking into these 8 chapters, they have set aside specific objectives. Now, I would like to make some general observation about the entire document. Generally, we are very optimistic about what has been set aside in this document. With a caution, I would like to say, maybe many feel it's very ambitious too. You have to examine what I say when you go to the individual chapters, and also various goal set and against the time target. This is where certain things become a little delicate also for us, because from 2020, next 20 years, 2040 is a line where it is expected that the entire NEP would be really implemented. With this background, we would like to see certain important aspect of this total document, that we see certain new features also. On the positive side, you find that a lot of flexibility is extended here for education at all levels. Then another feature is the multidisciplinary, multifaceted exposure. Then the students at different levels have the choice to select what they want to learn. And there is the difference between the curricular and co-curricular is likely to be eliminated. We don't know how. We have to examine that. Then there is a big thrust for preschool education, which I would like to focus first as soon as I finish this. Then regarding the language aspect, you find it seems to be some kind of thinking, if not a force, but there could be some kind of reconciliation on this ground. Regarding the medium of instruction, once again, there is a choice given to the students. There is little freedom, unlike the previous kind of experience that we had for the last so many years. Then another dimension of this document, you find that from the Indian context, which is highly diverse, we have multi-linguistic society. Therefore, all the languages, including classical and the modern languages, have to be attended well. Then coming to the global side, what could be the language that would be more handy for all the students, and even those who go out, come in? Probably English has been accepted to a large extent. There may be opinions in a different way, that's okay. Then keeping the global market and also employment market, we would like to see that the people are able to communicate well, learn so many skills that are required for a modern citizen, as well as a contributor to the society at large. Then overall, you find that people would like to appreciate that the whole document look forward for student-centric approach all through. Then there are many measures with respect to evaluation aspect from lower class to the higher, where a lot of freedom is given, and also flexibility, and a kind of fear is to be removed from the assessment complex that the children normally develop. With this preliminary note on that, I would like to shift myself to the school education. Now let us look into the first chapter, that is early childhood and care education. Here we would like to look at from 2 angles. As I said earlier, there are challenges, that is what are those things, and also we would like to examine, maybe you will also think aside with me about strategies. Looking into the document, you do find some kind of guidelines at the end in the addendum 2, where certain guidelines are given so that this document could be translated. And what is said in part 4, ultimately, the ultimate objective of the entire exercise is to transform the Indian society. This is what we would like to appreciate. Coming to the school education, you find there is a shift. There is a shift in the structure. Now, hitherto for last 73 years, we all know that we are not really thought of the youngest of the lot, 0 to 6, right? And in the system, you find that children from 3 years are to be entertained in the system. Now, I would like to be very careful whether this is going to be really going to click in terms of formal approach. There are different kinds of opinion about this kind of streamlining and setting the stage for children who enter age of 3, and they should be covered by the education system. This is a point for discussion. That could be a lot of debate, and many blogs and many writers, authors have written on different media about this particular aspect. Now, coming to the challenges that I would like to focus specifically, look, the early childhood education, as it today, we find that they are run in what is called Anganwadis. Now, let us look at the real Anganwadis all over the country. We have some 4 clippings on Anganwadis, and where you find the small children, Rajasthan, Orissa, Bihar, and Telangana, you find as early as 1975, the scheme like ICDS, the Integrated Child Development Scheme, was introduced, keeping these children, especially on the rural side. Urban context, the people have enough to pay for their kids. Now, with the changing scenario in the social fabric, especially in the globalization context, many people are afford to spend. Somebody tells me that for a preschool child, annual expenditure could be around 45,000. But look at these slides. Look at those children who are squatting on the ground, and there is no furniture. And you look at the environment all over, the backside, the floor, wall, etc. This is the reality of our Indian situation at the rural side. So we will not try to debate why not, no. Now, first of all, let us see who handles these ECC centers or the Anganwadis. Who are those people? We find 3 people and the staff. First one is the Anganwadi worker, AWW. Then you have an assistant or helper, Sahayak. Then you have a supervisor over these 2 people. This is all the staff structure that an Anganwadi would be there, and the supervisor will not be there every day. Okay, because the supervisor responsibility of supervising large number of Anganwadis. Do you know how many Anganwadis are there in India? There are about 16 lakhs Anganwadis right now. It could be plus or minus side. Now imagine 2 workers in these Anganwadis. What do? Look at those responsibilities that we have in the Anganwadis. They are paid poor, but they have to work so much. I don't like to read every bit of it. They have not less than 16 to 18 duties to carry out. 3 dimensions. One is about nutrition. Second one is on health. And third one is about giving them some kind of learning activities so that they pick up some language, they try to learn something, communication is developed. This is what is to be done under the 3 headings, but there are so many other things like pulse polio immunization to be taken care of. In fact, I read that an Anganwadi worker is the one who knows almost all the people in the village. How? An Anganwadi worker is selected from the local community. This is a condition. He's not traveling from a city or a town. That is a condition because a person, the local, would be more reading the pulse of the local population and the community than anybody and a stranger from outside. That's really acceptable. But the situation is coming to their qualification. Well, now they were expected to pass at least 10th standard earlier. Now it has gone to 12th standard. And just 2 days back, some of the states have called for employment of the Anganwadi workers. There are things on the website. Those who would like to apply for, they will be applying. Now, these Anganwadi workers qualification is just SLC, 10th or 12th. What is the pre-service exposure they get? Very meager, very meager. And the assistant will hardly have any kind of technical training or anything. Therefore, in this context, when you look at the ECC to become little formal or more formal, whatever you would like to take, are we having competent person to handle this? This is the question. Many educationists and thinkers have tried to share their opinions, ideas, expressing this particular concern about Anganwadi situation. Now, if you want to build a building, what do you do first? You dig a foundation, right? When you when you start putting the foundation, you take care that the foundation is going to be so strong that the building can stand for years, maybe 50 years or even more. Now, when you have this Anganwadi as the foundation stone, what is that we have for the quality of the stone, quality of the cement, whatever you put there, and also preventive measures that you take so that the natural calamity should not affect very easily the entire building. So you do care when you build a building. What are we doing? Are we taking care of the Anganwadis? This is the challenge that I would like to just visualize. Unless and until you make Anganwadi workers well equipped, make them competent. Well, what is the suggestion or the strategy given in our document? They say they are going to get 6 months in service program. They are not to be, say, deputed to any institution. As such, we don't have a PACAR training institution for these people. Whatever they get from the different sources, that should be assumed to be sufficient to manage the Anganwadis. This is where we are really bothered, should be bothered, worried also. So in the time to come, they should have good training, first of all. And Anganwadi concept and this pre-primary is not totally new in this document. Please note, the 1986 policy under Program of Action of 1992, in the chapter 5 on, say, early childhood education, they do say that an Anganwadi worker should be given a formal pre-service education. There was a recommendation that at the +2 stage, there should be a regular course for ECC. Maybe some of you have gone to the document and you find that 2 years course, just like our pre-university or higher education, ECC could be a subject at the +2 stage. So I would like to say this is not totally new. If that was the case in 1992 onwards, what is that we have missed? How is that we have not attended? What should be done now? This is a basic question I would like to pose here, that if at all you want to see the general enrollment at the university level should rise from something like 25% to 50% as expected in the document. Now, should you not just have two concerns about giving the right people to the foundation and giving them the required material? I repeat, you equip the person, give them the right weapons. Right instrument, right materials. Now the allotment of for the education sector, we know that right from 1948, Radhakrishnan Commission on University Education till now, we have been contemplating on how much more can we try to allot for education. We have not been very successful crossing 4%. We are around 2.7 to 3.8. We are not fully come to the 4. And this document, you know that the expectation is to make it almost double. This anticipation and this expectation is appreciable. Now the question is, how do you make up this money? That's it. Now we have so many national issues. If you look at this expenditure on continuing recurring expenditure, now whenever you just think of first-time expenditure, you are ready to spend. I'll give an illustration. Under SSA, every high school used to get 50,000 rupees one-time grant. Start a laboratory, see that things are all right. Now the missing link would be the recurring one. Here you find some kind of allotment projected based on 1917-18 national budget. Okay. Now they're all in the say decimal 1.4 something like that, ultimately reaching about 10%. 10% of what? 10% of the total expenditure towards education. Okay, then there are other levels of education, other kinds of expenditure on education. Now, looking at the meager allotment itself is a disappointing thing that for the most crucial stage of education, right? Now, coming to the structural part. Now, we are going to have these 3 years pre-primary getting on with first standard and second standard. This is kind of structural readjustment, alignment. Are we ready for this? This is another challenge. Now, the so-called such qualified with this qualification, Anganwadi workers should be going or gel with the teachers and the staff of those schools where you have standard 1 and 2. How are you going to handle this? Who is going to train them? Whatever the 6 months training for the Anganwadi workers, I mean, personally I feel it's very, very small. It's very small. And that too, it's indicated that it's going to be distance education. This mode, how much can a beginner in teaching line can really take it? And basically, who are these people who passed 10th standard and 12th standard? If they've got a good mark, I don't think they would be ready to stay back in the village. They see green pastures elsewhere, right? They may run into cities, town, work hard and go up on the ladder. But these people, I would say they are maybe last resort. Last resort. You can't get them, so you have them. Therefore, there are many issues related to ECCE. Now, coming to the pedagogy part. Now, do we have a well-set pedagogy for this? Now, who is going to write it? Who is going to prepare it? What is the syllabus? Unless and until you just plan this, what is the projected, time schedule? We have something like by 2025 or so, we should be able to achieve this goal. Are we ready for that? In this point, from this perspective, I would say that the document appears to be ambitious. No doubt, you have the last deadline 2040. That's a big time, 20 years ahead. But what you would like to strike within this 3, 4, 5 years or even 10 years with respect to teacher education, then improving the infrastructure, then bringing digital literacy, then at the 6th standard, people are claiming to have coding for the children so that they will be competent enough to take the challenge of the 21st century because of the changing scenario all over. Then unless until you think of a very, very strong foundation at the ECC, I personally feel I don't think we get good results even in 2040. No? You should excuse me making such a statement. Unless and until I add this, unless until you take care of these things, you will not be able to really achieve the goals. Now, coming to the second dimension of this ECCE, now what are the present difficulties that they face at the Anganwadis, etc., etc.? Infrastructure, the physical facilities, the transportation, then health and healthcare, sanitation, then the food, whatever all these things have to be managed by these two people, right? In a college, I would spend 60 minutes giving a lecture and go out. Now I'm free. But for these Anganwadi workers, they toil from morning to evening till the children are taken back from their, their parents. So this is the plight. So let us be thinking about the strategies that should really enhance the strength of the ECC setup, which we have thought of almost 73 years later. Though here and there we had the sparks of Kothari Commission saying on pre-primary education, then the 86 policy having an entire chapter on early childhood education with the ICD scheme from the governments all over the country, done a lot. Still, it has not reached what is anticipated, and real thrust in this area is required. Now, I'll move on to the second one, the foundation literacy, the second chapter on foundation literacy and numeracy. Okay, what is this foundation literacy? It is not what the children should know about how to write and read. No, it said what should they know about. It is not the actual skill. It is the knowing of the skill. What is done in reading, what is done in writing. So they should be exposed to print medium, No, they should be listened to. They should be able to listen to things, and they should catch up with a language. Now, it's also expected that researchers say young children pick up a number of languages. Accepted. But look at the 80% of the population. Now, house in the cities, towns with pre-primary education, you have Euro Kids, so many kind of franchises you run around. Okay, district headquarters, you have a beautiful arrangement for pre-primary. But what about the 70 to 80%, the larger population, especially which are managed by the government system? I'm not talking about the public schools, international schools. No, not at all. Not at all. They may be about 10%. But looking at the largest society, we should be worried about what is the learning crisis under this. People say, and we have the statistics, DICE and so many national statistics are flowing out, saying that even by 5th standard, they are unable to come out with basic literacy and numeracy. And whatever the teachers do, is it farce? Are we to blame the teachers? What is missing? Why this crisis has happened? This is a challenge. This is a real challenge. Now, added to this, let us examine the capacities of the teachers. Now, to handle these lower classes, now there are countries, I know you also know that they pay very high for lower class teachers. Now, we are on a reverse gear. We have kind of calculation, what should be paid for a primary school teacher, what should be paid for a police inspector, then what should be for an MLA, etc., etc. So we have some kind of calculation. I'm not debating on that. Now, how do you bring the competent person or strong person, intent set to the primary education? There should be some kind of incentive, isn't it? So unless and until you give beautiful setting for them, or a reasonable take-home salary, and see that they are supported by so many things within the institution. Somewhere in the document talk about school culture, school environment. What kind of environment do we have in the school? Now you look at certainly tribal areas. I would like to quote Beligiri Betta near Chamaranagar. Now teachers have to look around and they should see elephants are not around to reach their school. Such situation may be different in different parts of the country. In Kerala, a teacher is to swim with his luggage on his back and then reach the school and teach. I don't remember the name, but I have seen the detail. Now, this is a kind of scenario we have all over the nation. So how do you bring the talented lot to the lowest ebb of the school system? This is the big question. This is a big challenge. Now, how do you do it? How do you select the teachers? Now, look at, I would like to just refer to the latest result of 2019 TET, Teacher Eligibility Test. So, Tamil Nadu Teacher Eligibility Test, the percentage of pass is 1%. 1%. If you don't believe me, you just check up with the details. So, if Teacher Eligibility Test is the criteria for to select the right person, assumed, where most of the things are tested on paper. What is expected somewhere in the document you will find later regarding teacher education and then continuous professional development, CPD. There they say the teacher should be so talented, should be competent, and he should be given all kind of in-service education also. How is it the talent people are not coming? Are they drawn to the, say, IT sector? There is a slump now. Okay, IT sector. I do find many IT people appreciating the education service. They are rendering their hand also. I do appreciate that. Then we have many corporate sector which are setting aside some money, the social concern part, which the document also emphasizes later, even at the financing part, they say getting the voluntary and the corporate people and the philanthropists supporting education at different levels, including research. Therefore, getting the right man for the right job. This is a challenge. So how do you do it? What strategy would you like to devise, work out? Why the stronger category people don't come to teaching? This is a big question. Is it an easy job, as people mistaken? Saying that, they say it's a noble profession, but when it comes to the routine, well, you teach some 6 periods a day, Maybe some private school, they may object me, but they would say they have many more things to do. Good. But ultimately, when you look at the 80% of the population, you should think of the right person for the right job. This is where I would like to see the concerned people, including the government machineries, to think of that. Then coming to the third aspect of the challenge, what kind of teaching and learning methods have we devised? So on the market side, you find global market, internationally recognized, even in Indian, say, person who has devised in mathematics and other subjects is globally wanted. But a person who can meet the demands of the world in general, but what about our poor 80% population which thrive in a remote corner of the country? What kind of teaching materials, learning materials are we devising, giving them? Okay, old set maps, broken apparatus. And when I worked with some department section in the DSCRT earlier, we had an occasion to select laboratory materials for the schools, then library books for the schools. All these are, say, attempted. Ultimately, the goal is not achieved. That is where we are just lacking. Therefore, goal setting is one aspect. We want to make things sustainable. Education should become sustainable, right? Then you have goal setting. You have sustainable goals at the international level, right? What we learned from the Delar's report in 1996-97 regarding the treasures within. Say we want to make children learn to learn. Do we have an environment in the school system where they can learn on their own? Yes, some schools have done tremendous work. I do remember a school near HL in Bangalore, a primary school, an LPS, visited many years back. When I entered the school, the whole school was a teaching aid. The whole school was a teaching aid. You find everything, every nook and corner wall, everything is reflecting what the children should be getting it. Even in villages, some of you have traveled in, especially in Karnataka, you find Nammura Shale, our school. Now kind of having an affection, developing an affinity, and there is a concern shown by the local community. There are tremendous work done even in certain selected areas. I'm not just to be pessimistic about everything around, not cynical, but there are people who have contributed. I saw one kind of visual where an NGO has transformed an Anganwadi into a beautiful, it looks like a real school in a city. Everything is changed. And the kind of look on the children's face, you find there is a matter of satisfaction, like they are being taken care of. This is the glow that I could see in the eyes of the children. This is where we should be concerned about the children. Therefore, this pre-primary coming to the primary, we should be having great concern, right? So regarding the fundamental literacy, we have to do a lot of things. There are many suggestions given in the document. What should be done? So there are ideas projected like you have a language lab, you have a language week, you have mathematics week, then you have kind of clubs in the school, corners in the school. All are, well, good. But when are you going to translate them into action? This is where I'm concerned. Now, who is going to do it? Suppose you have a maths lab for numeracy, developing numeracy in the youngest lot. Who has to take the, say, leadership? Now, my question is, in the pre-service sector, teacher education, what is our competence as people in the teachers' college? I think in a good number of people from teachers' college may be online listening to this talk. Now, what is our own competence? Let us self-examine. Now, to what extent we have made teacher education a big dent in making our school system an acceptable one, a good band of teachers who go with commitment, and see that they are going to motivate children to learn. I gave one or two examples. How many such teachers are there to, say, motivate the children? Are we having people with passion for teaching? Or are we just calculating which pay commission would come soon? Well, the material aspect is essential, no doubt. I do appreciate, I do support. But meanwhile, what is my contribution to the system? This is where teachers are very crucial. I would say teacher is the fulcrum. Out of my, say, background in the teaching for the last 40, 50 years, I would say teacher makes the difference. Teacher is a factor. No, he can create learning materials. He can create innovations. He can do wonders in the class. Whether you bring digital literacy, whether you give them the software, whether you do something. I do remember when we had competitions for teachers and teacher welfare fund. We organized a situation where teachers would come, take the scrap in the corner and start making teaching aids. So the creativity that's there in the teachers can be enhanced, supported, and also given a kind of recognition. I know a number of teachers who have been working the school level, unrecognized, unnoticed, unsung, but they do wonders in the classroom. Therefore, helping the teachers, making them to become real creators is the challenge that we have at this particular level. If you make your foundation and the next stage strong, I don't think you'll have problems in the secondary, in the higher secondary. The problems will automatically reduce. But look at the enrollment. When you have 90.5 or 95% entry at the up to 5th standard, when you come to the people who go out from 9th standard, it comes to 67%. Now from 90%, it comes down to 67%. Why does it happen? Then you have the next chapter on dropouts. Maybe we look into that. So unless and until your fundamental essential skills are put into, should we not just remember our father of nation who gave a basic education, who said 7 years, mother tongue, centered around a craft, they learn from nature, etc., etc. Now today we are talking about that children should be on their own. But in a rural setup, what is the infrastructure that we give? What is the security we give, both for the teachers and the children? Now, there are many crucial issues around, and we should be working out all these infrastructure, etc., etc. Coming to the third aspect, the dropout issue. This is an unfinished agenda. Okay, we have so many issues why the children drop out. If you would like to go through the studies made by NUPA, National University for Educational Planning and Administration, you find studies in this area, especially on the rural side, especially the underprivileged group, the SC children, then OBC, etc., etc. Why do they drop out from the school? There are social issues, there are economic issues, there are cultural issues, and we normally say that giving an access to school is the end of it. I doubt whether it's going to be a success. We know that almost 90% or 99%, there's a primary school within 1 kilometer of the habitat of the child, from the house of the child. Well, this is not sufficing. This is we have very good statistics on all these things, but why do they drop out? There are many issues. This is where we should think of how do you just help these children, especially the mother. The studies say wherever the mother is illiterate, more than 60 problems for families solved. Are we taking care of the mothers? And in the rural setup, you find both the parents are working. And there is also gender discrimination with respect to even the remuneration. You know that. Now, all these disparities are there still today. Now, unless and until you start working on this, how do you help these poor people, marginalized group, to be on the mainstream? No, I don't think dropout rate can be controlled. Then there are other issues like school is not an interesting place. Why school doesn't become an interesting place? Should you not debate on it? No, does the teacher scare the children? Or the children are worried about some physical conditions around? Why the school is not interesting? You all appreciate a good teacher who sits on the ground can make the children happy, right? All depends on the teacher. This is my firm belief. Teacher can make it. Now, how do you make learning interesting in the lower level? This is where the teacher has to be so resourceful, creative, ready to down to earth man, and spend a lot of time on thinking. It's not that you will start thinking when he enters the classroom. The thinking begins 1 week earlier, or right in when he gets up in the morning, what do I to do today in the classroom? What new experience shall I give to my children today? Something failed yesterday. Should I think of alternative? This is where teacher, a creative teaching is so important and crucial. From this point of view, we need to help the teacher. We need to retrain the teacher. Whatever the teacher college institutions are doing, I would say they have to gear up. Now, from the context of the 1986 policy, a beautiful arrangement was evolved in 1986 with the program of action where so many diets, CTs, IASs came up. Apart from NCRT, these institutions working, reaching the root level of the school system, the aspirations, expectations, the goals were high. Now, the situation is not so palatable, not so encouraging today. There are many issues here. Okay, how can you make all these institutions, say, reaching the real needy, not just the students, by giving midday meals, right? Immunization, not just that, but the academic part. How do you lead, like BRC, CRPs? What do they do? Can they become academic leaders? This is the expectation of a CRP and BRP. You know that. So the CRP should be the first academic leader in the system, that the lowest ebb. The cluster resources become the real cluster to start with. Then comes the block, etc., etc. Now, unless and until you make these structures strong, meaningful, then also well equipped, they should not be simply running around with their mobiles, taking circulars, then giving circulars, sharing them. Not just that. That is part of their executive job. But taking the academic side is so crucial. If the coordinator selected for CRP is a bright man, you do find a change. I remember the instances when I worked with diet faculty for so many projects. For example, a project was worked out on how well the school has used the school ground, how well the school has used the drinking water facilities, how the sanitation is maintained. There was a study made. Now we found that it was not really good. Many schools not taken care of. Is something to do with our Indian psyche about sanitation? Are we still bogged down with some kind of chalta hai attitude? No, a teacher should see that his environment, school environment, physically, thoroughly good enough for the children to breathe first, walk well, sit well. No, this is where the story begins. Now, if these things can be taken care of, supervised, then coming to the assessment of school, things have been done. Karnataka, in a way, I think led somewhere in 2004, I remember, when the Karnataka State Quality Assessment Organization was evolved in 2004. I had a chance to work with the section. Now, how do you assess the school? If you look at the NAC assessment at the university level, college level, they have certain parameters. Even Quality Assessment Accreditation Council also worked out the parameters. Now they had even organized things like school should be visited. By whom? An experienced person, maybe a retired headmaster or an officer with a senior teacher, a subject, good teacher, good in a subject, go to the school, stay there in the school. These are the things, modalities worked out. Now, what is the feedback that we get? How are they processed? How are they taken for further, say, improvement, etc.? This is a big question. Right now, I can't give you statistics about what has been generated and how it has been followed up and what the remedies created, etc., etc. But an attempt has been made. If you can accredit a university and a college, including teacher institution, why not a school? Attempts have been made in different parts of the country about how to assess a school. I remember a classical study somewhere, I think in Goa, about studying a school. How do you study a school? A research study was conducted long back. Now, there the criteria to assess was evolved. Basically, the physical environment was taken, management of the school by the entire staff, how the people, the entire staff, including the office people, all of them have a concern for the whole environment. Then the general discipline, etc. You assess. Coming to the classroom situation, how well the teaching learnings are transacted in the classroom. This need direct observation of the class in the classroom. Now, feedback should be there. You remember how the people are observed, teachers are observed in the classroom. No, what feedback is given. From this point, you have to be little say careful. Coming to the fourth chapter, you have this curriculum on pedagogy. See, 5 plus 3 plus 4. There is a rearrangement difficulty. Look at this. 3 plus 2 becomes the foundation. Okay. Then comes the preparatory 3. Then you cut off this 5, 6, 7 in 1. 6, 7, 8 under 3. Then pull up 9th and 10th along with 11th and 12th. Now, the operation modalities of rearranging them would be the challenge that we are going to face. Now, on the whole, in the country, right from 1986 onwards, there has been rearrangement made. The concept of junior college was, removed, and many states have realigned. For example, I quote Kerala, more than 15 years back, they just removed all the junior colleges. They brought down +2 into higher secondary, right? Therefore, this becomes a unit, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But we have a problem in certain states, around 9 to 10 states in India today, including Karnataka. If you have read the paper today morning, you would have seen junior college associations have on some kind of memorandum to be given to the government about not to have a combined board with school and PUC examination board. They want to be separate. Well, I'm not going to dilate on anything on this, but things have to change. If you have a national pattern, if you have a uniform pattern, so uniform pattern from the context of the entire country, from diversity from the point of the culture, these fibers cannot be forgotten. Coming to the overcoming certain academic part, pedagogy, rote learning. What is that we have done? So way back in 2005, we got this National Curriculum Framework for School Education, followed by National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education in 2009. Okay, school education, teacher education. Now, when we start working on, when we had beginning meetings, seminars, workshops, etc. on NCF 2005, right from 2005, I remember. I was one of the person involved in to some extent. You may be surprised that I was talking about NCF 2005 even in 2017, right? Because awareness was not there in the larger section of the teaching community. So if you have NEP 2020, what is going on today on webinar, this is a good sign. Good sign. More people should enter into this stream, find out, even if they don't utter a word, just listening, going to the document itself is an education. Now, the larger, community members of the teaching community should step into this. What is the national document? What is it that I should do? What is the deficiencies that we have? This is where I should come to the picture. Now, coming to the rote memory learning, we have said we have to make children, creative. We have changed the Bloom taxonomy. We have accepted a new taxonomy, and we have trying to change our assessment, change our question paper, even teaching, bringing formative evaluation, etc., where rote memory learning is not given the, weightage, but something that comes as, spontaneity among the children. These things are taken care of, right? This is another challenge. Coming to the language issue. Now there is a compromise made. The children can select their language. Medium could also be selected. But there are certain, in different parts of the country, the 3-language formula is not totally accepted. You know that. We still have issues with 3-language formula. Now, taking the global context. Now, let us be very specific on our objective and not simply critical about the 3-language formula. Let us say your children are given good education even in a rural setup. Ultimately, with kind of social mobility, they may step into a town or a city. Okay, then what languages would be more comfortable with for them to go on? Maybe higher education, maybe vocational education, maybe seeking a job. Now, in the global market, which language would be more useful for them, they should be able to decide. Now, coming to certain languages that could be given, there is a big chapter on multi-language issue, right? Giving the, credit to various languages in the country. I accept, I appreciate, good. We should not forget our classical languages. We should enjoy the beauty of the classical languages and also propagate. We have national committees on classical languages. We have institutions which work on various languages. We have one in Mysore. No, they are all appreciable. But coming to an individual student, what is the choice? When you say there is flexibility in selecting the subjects, why not language? This is the question I leave unanswered. People should start thinking about it. How we impress upon the system, how language can be, say, in a way compromised so that nobody is disappointed. This is where you have to go ahead. Now, coming to the other aspect of the curriculum and this one, when you have flexibility, no, you say flexible. For example, take selecting a subject. Suppose you give a situation where the 9th standard boy would like to learn photography. Let us assume you would like to become a professional photographer. It's a vocational. It will buy his bread for the day. Okay, good. You could be creative also later on, become a professional. Now, are we ready to create a slot for a person who can teach photography in school? Now you talk about vocationalization of education. This we thought of as early as 1953-54. We know the story of multipurpose high school in the background of Mudliar Commission. Okay, why they fade out? Well, we are not debating on that. Now we are just coming back with skill development, then so many things at the state agenda, national agenda, global agenda. Good. We have many things for 21st century skills. Yes, good. But what are we doing? When you give the option for the child, in case he would like to offer for this, are we ready? This is the challenge that I would like to focus here. Are we ready for bringing vocational stream at the 9th standard now? I remember as a school teacher, we had career master training program for the school teachers. The teachers were drawn for a month or so, and they were shown how they can be career master in the school, giving vocational guidance at the 9th standard level. You know, some of the seniors know very well. No, we had a section in the DSC called EVGB, Educational Vocational Guidance Bureau. There was a publication like Guidance News. That was a very good publication which was coming out thrice in a year. No incidents of say counseling, etc. were there. Teachers were guided. Now, are we having such kind of document, such kind of journals, or with the technology around, can we just reach the teacher, a school teacher? These are the big questions. How to help the student if he says, I would like to go to this stream? One is choice. Second is say facility and the backup with the right teacher, right personnel to teach. You look at the NIOS, National Open School. They do have some vocational dimension so that they become self-employed, independent. They may not be looking for higher academic streams. Well and good. So in this context, how do you make the issue of flexibility where somebody demands something? Are we ready? Then is it going to continue well at the 11th and 12th? There is nothing said in this document. Now, these are the loose ends that we should be observing, how we can make it tight, see that the fiber is strong. From this point of view, flexibility should be taken care of, keeping the infrastructure available, getting the people to handle it. No, in fact, let me give my own testimony. I studied in a government multipurpose high school in 1960s. Okay, in Karnataka. No, I remember we had no instrument, no ground, nothing to work. We were just spending the time in the classroom. This is my witness, my testimony. Okay, those days are gone. Today things may be different. When you have budgeting on this, how much budget are you going to allocate for this? No, additional. The financing talks about additional, recurring. This is where you have to visualize. If you are going to move from 4% to 6% or even more, well and good. I don't think that they will come very soon. But see that it is made possible. Now, what the document says about financing, they say catch hold of philanthropists, no, tap them, then look up to the corporate where they have a social concern allotment that is prescribed in a way. They are doing a wonderful job. We know many institutions, MNCs, who have taken on their own, if not with pressure, but with concern. They have done wonderful job. They are doing it. Now, the quantum is not sufficient. Okay, it may be something like 10%. 20%. Okay, coming to the teacher education, you have so many issues. I already referred to teacher qualification, then the kind of person should get in teaching, then about the recruitment. Then we have one thing called PTR, 1:60. I have taught in classroom where it was 1:90. Okay, now the standard has to be 1:30. If so, how do you strike it? How do you bring down this? Are you going to appoint new teachers? Now, your media says there are so many vacancies still falling. Just 3 days back, they recruited some 306 principals promoted in the junior colleges, pre-university colleges in Karnataka. Now, such a lacuna gaps may be around the country. How do you really, unless until you have the people to teach, how can the children go on? This kind of concern should be there. The bureaucratic setup where things have to be moved, remove the red tapeism, try to see things flow. So you have so many recruitment system like APSC, etc., especially for the government stream. How do you make things simple? This is where you have the strategy to be visualized to face this challenge. Coming to the role of so many institutions like DIET, CET, etc., as you find there, they have to just think of the new roles they have to take up. Way back in 2004, there was a big meeting in Delhi, which I also attended from the CTE. I was working in the CTE, Vijaya. So there was a proposal how new things should be taken by the CTEs and IASs. From the point we have start from 1992, we started CTE in 1998 is in this place, Vijaya College. Okay. Now what is our contribution back to the system? This is where we have to have self-examination. And what is the specific role? A word about diet. We know the particular problem in diets. The faculty are floating. Okay, they don't remain long. This is a fundamental situation in many diets in many states. No, at least in Karnataka it is true. So unless they come long-standing faculty, things cannot go well. Because a person comes for 2 years, goes away, a new person comes, he has to just get exposed. The whole story, once again, start from scratches. So this kind of administrative bottlenecks have to be removed. And the role to be played by these institutions should be clearly made more and more specific in the present context of NET 2020, right? Now coming to the sixth aspect, the inclusive education. Now, this inclusive education, for a long time, most of us did not know what is inclusive at all. Let us be very honest. We never thought of these people into the mainstream. In fact, there were a lot. For example, if the child is not able to hear, in Mysore, there is a deaf and dumb school. Well, the parents are right, take the child there. Then if you have some kind of little more money, when you go to the institution where they have some kind of better medical facilities, right? At Mysore University, they have a big institution on training people to handle people with the hearing handicapped. There's a BSc course on that. Now, coming to the realities, many projects are being there on. For example, Davangere, then Kolar, and also Bijapur. There are institutions working, even NGOs are working, how these children could be brought to the mainstream. No, there are project schools where the project schools are assigned how special physical arrangement should be created in the school. For example, if the school plinth level is about 3 feet, you got to have a ramp so that the child, if he can easily take a wheelchair or somebody, the parent, some ward will come and take the child into the class and would. I remember an incident in a corporation school in Bangalore very long back. One father used to carry the boy to the 8th standard class, put him on a gunny bag, literally. And the boy would stay whole day. If at all he has to go to the toilet, somebody has to carry. Mother would come and carry and ease him out. No, so pathetic. And even the class was smelling sometimes. Now, how do you bring these, say, physically handicapped, the challenged children, and the downtrodden, then the marginalized, then some group which are not at all recognized, street children, so many varieties of people which are underprivileged, marginalized. How do you bring them to the mainstream? Now the answer they try to give in this document, see that the teacher education, pre-service and in-service should have an exposure on inclusive education. I remember the D.Ed syllabus they talk about, B.Ed syllabus they talk about, but what is the practical training that they get? Do they really take up a situation where they handle a child under inclusive situation? Now how much? Now what is the backup that they give? What's the kind of direction they give from the college? What's the support they give from the department? These are all the crucial questions that we given. Otherwise, the concept of inclusive education is likely to remain very bright on paper, not on operation. No, therefore, try to see that inclusiveness is really understood in reality, and also some kind of say concern shown, and teachers are made that they have a role to play in this. No, how we can think of children in the mainstream? This is a concept now. Bring them to the mainstream. How do it's not? They are not to be taken in a special school. No, somebody has sent information also about special teacher. There was a list of expectation from this webinar, which Dr. Harish sent me 3 days back. Some of these things are there. I'm answering those questions almost, right? Issues related to teacher, issues related to, you can't have, there may be special schools, no doubt. But making them, getting a kind of identification, then a kind of acceptance in society is the crux of inclusiveness. So this is where we have to think of how these things can be carried out. Now coming to the school complex. School complex as a concept, most of you know that it was an innovation that the Kothari Commission brought out in 1964-66. My personal experience I would like to share. School complex was a good attempt. The arrangement, we used to have what is called 2-tier, 3-tier arrangement. Okay, where 5 LPS, lower primary schools, will be under the guidance of a headmaster of a HPS, higher primary school. And 5 to 6 HPS teachers will be under the guidance of a high school teacher. And the high school have some link with a +2 stage or even a degree. Now in the new document, they call school complex, where a school, high school, a higher secondary school become the central school. A school will manage the entire band of teachers teaching at different levels, become the central school. This is the basic concept. Now the purpose is very clear. The purpose is not new. No, objective is not new. Objective is break the isolation, have optimum utilization of existing facilities. Wonderful. Okay, isolation. Each school is isolated. If it is in a rural, remote village, unless the inspecting body goes there and writes a report, maybe unless the local community has a concern for school remains isolated. No, physically, emotionally isolated, right? So how do you break this isolation? This is one point. Bringing teachers together. I remember my own exposure and also participation, helping the teachers, LPS, HPS, high school teachers in school complex in Bangalore. Okay, although I taught in Bangalore, I remember the situation. We used to have sessions for the teachers on Saturdays. Later on, it becomes a zonal school complex where 12 schools were fixed by the department so that the concerned headmaster will take the leadership. A high school teacher will take the leadership. This kind of exercise have been experienced, tried out. Why school complex did not continue? That's a big question. You can ask me. It started in as early as in the 60s, and by the time you come to 80s, it's just gone. Only in Andhra Pradesh, somewhere in 2009, they made a order, and 2013 they have revoked a school complex. That's what I just read it. Janardhan Reddy Committee on School Complex. They call it Education Complex. Okay, now coming to the present school complex that has been contemplated in this document. Well, the idea is okay, acceptable. Now the challenge. What is the challenge? Now I'll put it in a simple statement. Who should bell the cat? Who should bell the cat? Who should start? Now, how are the officers are aware of how a school complex should be working, functional? Now it begins there. An officer in the department taking the public school, I mean the general schools, aided school, government schools, no, he should start the ball to move. No, make a survey, then to reach the school There is an allotment. An education officer, or CRP, BRP, even higher up, they have a kind of a 15 days program, how many education institutions they should visit. There is some kind of job chart. Okay, keep to that. Let them keep to that. Okay, this is one aspect. The second aspect is coming voluntarily. How? You invariably have headmaster association both at the elementary level and the secondary level. Even at the junior college, you have principals association, lecturers association, etc. Now, these people, these association, apart from working out, fighting for their, say, salary improvement, service conditions, then new pay commission, etc., acceptable. What should they be basically concerned with is how to improve the standards. How do we seek help from somebody else? Okay, in the global context, every day we read new things. How does it flow into the school system? You can't write another complimentary copy for the book or supplementary note to the school. It's not humanly impossible. So it has to be day-to-day business. A teacher should be picking up the new information. If not solved, if not answered, if not familiar, go to a right person. If you can't just leave the school and go to a person, the school is hampered. The best thing is see an expert comes to the school. These attempts have been tried. The experts go to the school, stay a whole day in the school, helping different teachers. It could be subject-wise, it could be general aspect, etc., etc. If a team of, higher primary school headmasters make a team and have a concern about identify the problems of the school, let me just give an illustration. Suppose the children were introduced to learning language like English for the first time. What are the problems that children face in learning the language? Basically, we know with a low socioeconomic status, invariably parents cannot use the language. Okay, especially this language. Then within their own mother tongue, how many parents are competent enough to give them a very, very, very good language in their respective mother tongue, so that the books are read well, pronunciations are uttered, done well, then writing improves, etc., etc. If the parents cannot do anything, helpless for various reasons, poverty become one, then access is one, then workload among the parents is another one, then so many other things like single parent families, etc., etc., deserted families, etc., etc. Now the headmaster should think of this. So in a typical school complex, it is assigned in this document. The headmaster should, the principal or the headmaster of the higher secondary school should see that things are put on a network. How is that? Within an area of, say, 6 to 7 kilometers around, neighborhood schools should come together. How do you arrange this? This needs some planning. This is where the challenge comes in. Now, who should take the interest? See, money is not paid for this. The document also say you should think of school counselors, social workers, so many things are there. Now, coming to the, say, appointment of such other additional faculty, a big question comes to the government or even the aided school. No, what is the allotment? What is the workload? What is the salary component? What is the service condition? Do you have other plus as any other employee, other teacher, subject teachers also? These are the questions to be answered by the concerned, say, officers in the department, including planning, finance, etc., etc. No, ultimately, unless it is clear, nothing will start. Therefore, all things are related. If you are thinking that the workload of a teacher cannot take up all these things, if you want to induct a counselor, which is very essential from the present situation around, okay, how do you accommodate them? How do you accommodate them in terms of their, say, service, etc., etc., as I said? So these are the issues that become a real challenge in starting a school complex, reviving the school complex, or visualizing a school complex in the present context. Therefore, sufficient care should be taken. There are a number of things that the school complex do. I would say if the school complex becomes reality, India can solve a number of problems. It's a good concept which the Kothari Commission involved earlier. Only thing is you need to have commitment, no? Then you have to overcome the management difficulties. No, it needs extra commitment, right? It has to be voluntarily. No, this is how the things will go on. Okay, I did not touch upon the last one about the accreditation assessment. Somewhere I made reference to quality assessment, school quality assessment also. Yes, in parallel with on par with NAC at the higher level, can schools have an accrediting agency? Yes, why not? If you have a third party, say assessment, good. Can we have all those things there? Are we afraid of a third party coming to the school, making an assessment? Or should you just rely on the government machinery? No, the inspectorate component in the government machinery has its own limitations in terms of, say strength, no, personnel, in terms of time, in terms of the huge number of schools. Now, how to manage that? Apart from other kind of professional activities, development activities that they have to take up, and also some calls from different departments. Now I learned yesterday, I was speaking to some school teacher. They say, we have, now we are not thinking about national policy, we are thinking about only COVID. How do we survive in COVID? My God. Okay, this may be incidental for them, but for the timing, they have switched up about anything about school and education. We have some program going on like Vidyagama. They have their own difficulties. You know that. I don't know how things are going on in other states, but things are there almost similar in most of the states. Okay, maybe exceptionally one or two may be going very up in the ladder. Otherwise, generality, things are almost same. From this point of view, assessing the school, giving a credit, schools are recognized, they become familiar, they get a social recognition, and the parents can look for schools where some of the other schools in the market, they have their own pamphlet around, like say international school, they have so many publicity things. Why not a government school identify this is the best school? This is the best school in the locality, and some recognition. You give the award to the school, not for the person. Okay, so that the school is shining around. I remember a school on Airport Road. The community is so much concerned about the high school. They are contributing, they are helping, they are visiting, they are consulting. No, they are supporting. Such government schools do exist. Only thing is, it is a kind of how you mobilize the resources, how you become proactive. I have seen schools in Kolar also, a remote corner that everything is transformed by one man, the headmaster. He enters the school somewhere in 1975. By the time he leaves the school in 1995, the whole school is transformed. The village comes to the school for various things. Children have got, say, scholarships. Children live in the school during 10th standard examination. They work in the school garden. They grow mango. They get coconut. They sell it. They build an auditorium. This is what I've seen personally. This is my experience. So it is possible. Wonders can be created, done, provided you have that proactive sense and also a kind of commitment and love for doing what you want to do. This is where things can change. No rules can really do wonders. It's only the person who can do wonders. This is my real, conviction. Being a teacher for some time long, I remember that unless I do it, things will not do. So the beginning should be with the teacher, right? With the headmaster, with the school. Then you think of the school. You have to think of benchmarking. You have this concept in what is called in the corporate sector. Do we have benchmarking for the school? Which are the schools who have reached this stage to be accredited as A+, etc., etc., etc. This is where there should be competitive spirit among the schools and the teachers. When you talk to a teacher in a school, he comes with a number of difficulties, complaints, etc., etc. All right, there are, no doubt. There are administrative lacuna, there are financial, there are so many other things, relationship problems within the school. When we studied, say, a particular upgraded primary school in certain parts of Bangalore, we had some relationship issues. The single trained graduate is not well accepted in the school. So many issues come up. So the whole school environment, the culture will be simply spoiled. So this is how we have to look at the school education from the context of the new education policy. The objectives are wonderful, well articulated, time is set, but implementation. You do find on addendum 2, addendum 1, shall we have that screen on the screen, Praveen? Now you have certain policy guidelines. I'll just go to the policy guidelines for implementation quickly and close my talk so that you can just react and send your questions if you are ready. Okay, we'll look into this policy implementation slide, and wherein certain guidelines are given. Which are the agencies should be involved in this, right? In policy implementation. Are we getting the slide, Praveen? Now in this, I would, let me not discontinue. Here, now you have to have kind of planning at the local level. You planning, everything starts with a planning. No? Needs should be assessed. But the existing facilities have to be assessed. Now the documents say, if at all you want to bring something new, you can't 100% grant on that one-time expenditure. No, you need to build on existing facilities. Okay. Now, if you cannot strike 100% on the existing facilities, then you have to look for somebody outside. Maybe a philanthropist, benevolent contributor from the society. Yes. The document also talks about such a kind of mobilizing from the society. But it's not an easy job, because we can't predict who would really go on like this as a philanthropist, as a benevolent contributor to a small school. It can happen and it may not happen also. This is where NGOs come into picture. If the NGOs, see, you have this spirit and intent you can read later, but here you find each policy point has many steps. There are things, you go by phase manner. So what Meghalaya has said 3 days back, Meghalaya has said, no, we are not ready to take this implement in total, NEP 2020. We are going to have a piece of it, very phased program, very realistic. You can't change everything in say 2020, 2025, 2030, etc. No, we'll have a humble step. Meghalaya has declared this. You may just check in with the news. So you can have phased implementation. You can't go total. Well, then prioritization. How to think of the priorities? Which one needs what? This is where you have to change. Okay, if a particular government school or set of private schools need academic guidance in teaching a subject, the school complex should appear on the screen picture. They should come forward. Now all these things should be planned. What priority should be there? Is it financing for the school? Is it the infrastructure? It is the resource mobilization? It is the teacher training, in-service program? Is it inclusiveness? What is it? Which one you are going to have on priority list? This is where you can have an action plan. Please go up. And when you do this, you need to have people who can spend time on this. Now, coming to the comprehensive aspect, you have to raise a question. Will it encompass what all we have decided? Or is it going to give just a piece of it, totality? Like you have something called in planning, short-term planning, long-term planning. Some of you are familiar with institutional planning, you know that. So in institutional planning, you short-term plan. You set aside certain goals for 3 years. Wonderful. Because you know the limitations, you have some apprehensions, you have some doubts. So have a short-term goal, short-term plan. And short-term plan should be for a smaller thing. No, you can't change the entire thing 3 years. This is where you have to think of the priorities. What can be done in 3 years? Okay. Then when you look at transforming the entire thing, you have to see the in a comprehensive outlook. It's a very big word, being comprehensive. No, taking the totality aspect. Full-fledged, wonderful. Yes. What are the full-fledged things? Our children can be creative. Our children can be self-employed later. Our children can be good citizens. Our teachers will be very happy. So many things. That becomes comprehensive. School is a model. Very good. So building on the existing structure, as I said earlier, then coming to joint monitoring and cohesive implementation. Joint monitoring, we have different people here around. If you think of the ministries, the government, you have the central government and the state government. If you think of the state government, you have different district heads. Okay. Then other NGOs, there will be joint monitoring from them. Then corporate sector. This is a kind of giant venture that they can take up, and you can have implementation. Okay, this is where, and without losing the assessment part, evaluation part. This is how you have to have constant reviewing And the committee, this document says by 2030, we are going to have an analysis and review. Oh, good, good. You have projected some dates. Are we just reaching the target or not? Why? Why not? What's the problem? These are things that should be analyzed and reviews. New goals should be set up, and you have once again priorities, plan. Then you have think of finance. You think of the people who can handle it. Then you give an action plan, execute it. Once again, followed by in the loop, analysis and review. This is how the whole system should be flowing and rotating. We have a cyclic effect in the whole system. This is what I would like to say. With this, I would like to conclude. It's 4:10 now. I think it's the right time for me to stop and wait for the anchor to say something and also receive some questions which he can answer before 4:45. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your fruitful session. Definitely, I think all the listeners will endorse my statement. Yes, again and again, we have to get into the document NEP 2020 and we have to go with the critical analysis of that. Once again, I would say thanks to you, sir. Now, it is a time of discussion. So discussion will lead to that clarity of the doubts. And I requesting Dr. Harish, Assistant Professor and IQAC Coordinator, to take over the session of the question and answer session.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your critical analysis and information. Here, there are a few questions raised by the participants. Almost all the areas already you have covered during your presentation, sir. Anyway, the related questions are here. So just I will raise the question one by one. So let the participants get clarity what they have raised in the chat box. The first question, I think this already covered in the beginning. The first question is how school education should build to increase the GDP level. That is a one question raised by the participants. How school education should build to increase the GDP.
Okay. See, you take USA, high school, from high school, the so-called working population will enter into vocational stream 52%. Germany, it is 75% or even more. What happens after 10 years of school education? They get into the vocational stream. In what way? It is considered something to do with GDP. When you have a huge population, you take the advantage, right? They call it, what is called in the population dynamics, population dividend, they call it. Okay. Now, when you have large number of working class going out of school system, I said 67% is the one that stops. No, say nearly 33% are in the outside. What should happen then? Are they going to become delivery boys for Zomato, for Amazon? What do they do? Are they going to drive lorries? What do they do? How do they while their time? Unless and until they become self-employed, have some vocational, skill with them, very soon, though they may not be afford to go for higher education, they will settle down in the job market. If they're competent, the statistics. Even the graduates from the universities are not easily accepted elsewhere, because an engineering graduate without field experience cannot turn out good things. This we know. Let us be honest about it. Therefore, like Germany, when they're among 6 days, they spend 4 days on theory, on practicals, 2 days on theory. Okay. So if your ITIs on politics, give them real workforce. See, from the point of total earning, you may not be earning like a doctor. Don't worry, but you are earning your bread. So if the work population is available from the job market, naturally the economy will improve. If you don't have employable people in the market, for example, Toyota is starting something building. If you don't find good workers, no technicians, well trained, where will the production? If the production, Toyota production is good compared to what Japan is doing, naturally GDP will, because international market will go. No, this is how we have to see school education. By the time they leave 12 years of 12 years education, no, they should be employable, independent, self-employable, or marketable in a way, in the economics term. They should be even marketed. They can, you look at the placement in engineering college, they just take the final year students and offer them 3 lakhs, etc. This is how GDP could be related. For you plan well, then execute and see then they are desirable. Okay. Hope I answered this question.
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir. It's okay. So the next question, what should be the government should do at this stage to implement NEP 2020 in school education, sir?
What is the government?
What the government should do at present to while implementing NEP 2020 recommendations?
Well, the government has brought the document and the policy implementation they have devised. They should follow the book. This is the simplest answer they can give. Apart from that, making people proactive,
Yes.
convinced, then if they can get committed with the kind of, say, impression that the government can give. Take, for example, what the farmers are striking all over the nation about agriculture thing. Why are they unhappy? Have you listened to them? What the government is given is really workable. There should be some kind of dialogue. Okay? If the dialogue is there even on education, then, for example, take this 3+2 at the starting level. You should be able to convince people, we are going to help you, let us do it. If you say, do this and worry and you can manage yourself, no, people will not be happy. So government should also be proactive and also sensible, sensitive, supportive. This is my answer.
Sir, fine, sir. So there another question. I think this is again general question, sir. How to reduce the dropout and increase the enrollment ratio? For this, is there any strategic model suggested by NEP 2020, sir?
Yes, NEP strategic models are not, they are simply repetitive. What has been done earlier for school dropouts, like tracking them, then, and there is a chance of readmission. No, there is a point of multiple entry. No, you can enter the school anytime. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't get become small about it. I am just a loser. I'm not competent. No kind of complex. He can always come back to school. So that kind of multiple entry, re-entry. Even in the inclusive school, it has been already tried in Bijapur, Kolar, and Davangere. Okay.
Yes. Yes,
Say a child absence for 3 months, but he can come back in September to school. And the teacher duty is to help them. No, this is where dropouts can be reduced. This is one. Secondly, in a village setup where transportation is a big problem, for these project school, they have also allotted money for transportation. There should be some transportation so that the school child can move. Then another dimension is homeschooling. Those children who cannot even travel, walk, nobody to take them to school. Homeschooling, home tutor should go. But it's not an easy joke, what's the money fixed for home tutoring? Then what's the time given to the teacher? Who is accountable? Who is monitoring? And are the parents quite confident about the security that the teacher gives? We heard stories, isn't it? Hear stories about this kind of thing. So all these aspects should be taken care of. Then giving, say, infrastructural school, making school interesting. Then we have Karnataka, we have started Bala Shalege, Marli Ba Shalege. So many things haven't tried. Even what is that? Where the nomads travel, terminate when the gang comes for cement work, garbage, building work. The children are left out, and even the teachers go there and try to them. They should be brought back to the mainstream. These things have been being tried. Some of them have been successful. Some of them, out of control also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So there is another question. for the entry level, the first standard, the entry level, what should be the age? But in the policy, now in the new policy, they said 6 years. But in the earlier version, it is different: 5 years, 6 months, 10 months, like that. But now, really, they made a strategic rule for all the sector schools to admit the child to the first standard, a common age.
No, this is not made clear. All sectors not made clear. General idea is given. Children could be admitted when they are around three by age. No,
Yes, sir.
preschool. It is not an issue problem in a urban context because parents readily voluntarily rush to the school even before the child born. You know the story. They plan ahead. But in the rural setup, they have to be brought where the social workers, Anganwadi workers have a role to play. They should go to the school. They should have this admission campaign. These things are done by the school teachers. They have admission campaigns done. They make a survey in the village and impress upon the parents. Even if they're very poor, they say we have so many kind of incentives, dress, food, etc., etc. Some kind of incentive. Why don't you send the children to school? Okay. The Indian system, Indian rural agrarian society. Earlier, large population was there at home. Some could go to the field and work. Rest would help here. Here, the parents now they become almost say nuclear families, isn't it? So once again, the children are become insecure. At home, they become insecure. If they don't go to school, are insecure. If they don't come to school, they stay at home, they will also feel insecure. Okay.
Okay, sir. It's clear. Sir, another question. For the Anganwadi privatize?
Anganwadi?
Can they privatize?
Privatize. If they don't call privatization in the urban context, they have already privatized. Okay, but privatizing, when you privatize in a rural place, who is the gentleman who will start an Anganwadi as a private business? He will always calculate how much he will get, isn't it? This is practical. It has to be practical. How much fees? Suppose you say something like 30,000, nobody will see the board also, right? It's not possible unless you have to have financial support for the child side. Privatization is a myth, especially Anganwadi. It is a government job because how many philanthropists will really take up Anganwadis? Maybe 3% or even 10%. What about 90%? It is the government responsibility to take care of it. It's indisputable. Yes. Next question.
Okay, sir. I think almost all the questions are repeated, sir. The questions are overlapping. The participants they arise. You already answered those questions during presentation and now also in the question and answer session. Anyway, thank you very much for your beautiful presentation and NEP on 2020 with regard to school education. That is mainly on challenges and strategies with regard to school education. So once again, thank you.
My humble appeal lastly is all the teachers, they should go to the document invariably. There is no question of somebody asking them to read. They have to simply take it and read and have their questions and try to solve and try to work out. Yesterday, there was a circular from the UGC. You have sent, Mr. Dr. Harish, that there will be so many competitions on NEP, essay rating competition, isn't it? You can put up on the screen and tell them, see, you participate, you get the inclination to think about NEP also. This is a kind of motivation. I don't know how far it is going to be really, say, productive. At least awareness could be there. A teacher should go to that. They can't say, if the headmaster says, if the BO says, we'll do it. Otherwise, don't ask me. If this is the attitude, that is complacence. Nothing can be done. Teacher has to be proactive. Okay, thank you very much.
Awareness program, they are organized through conducting some quizzes and other activities. They have started 2020 in this vision. So once again, thank you very much, sir. So now I will call Pradeep to propose a vote of thanks. And after that, there is a instructions for tomorrow's session.
Thank you.
Okay. So good evening to one and all. We are at the end of the today's session. Myself, Pradeep Kumar, Assistant Professor of this institution. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. First and foremost, I thanks to our special guest, Dr. R.V. Prabhakar sir, Vice President BHS, who despite his busy schedule has found his time to grace this occasion and delivered inaugural speech. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your participation. And we are grateful to our resource person of the today's session, Professor S. Niranjan Das sir, a former principal, Vijay Teachers College. Sir, we are really enlightened by your thought-provoking and meaningful and fruitful speech on the NEP of 2020. On behalf of Vijay Teachers College, I extended my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are always grateful to our one more person of personality, Dr. K. Samir Sima sir, Dean of Vijay Teachers College and Joint Secretary of BHS and patron of this webinar. Sir, I extended sincere thanks to you on behalf of VTC for your encouragement and guidance, sir. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to extend my heartfelt thanks to our team leader and principal of Vijay Teachers College, Dr. P.T. Meena Madam, for her step forwardship, support, vision, and commitment. Thank you, Madam. Thank you so much for your support. I owe a special thanks and gratitude to organized secretary and team of Vijay Teachers College for their sincere effort and make this session as a successful. Thank you each and everyone. And finally, I extended my heartfelt thanks to all distinguished participants of this webinar and make the webinar successfully of the today's session. Thank you one and all for giving me opportunity to be grateful. Thank you, sir. Thank you to one and all. Now I request Praveen Kumar sir to give the instruction for the tomorrow session.
Hello. I know that you all are very much curious and eager about to participate in tomorrow's session. Yes, about the today's session, we already posted the feedback link in the YouTube chat session. So everybody, without fail, you have to access the link and you have to submit your feedback form. It will be more and more useful for us to organize some more programs, and as well as it will be an important task for other in the next day, because after the program we have to sort out all the things and you may get it the certificate by using this feedback link. And tomorrow's session also will be started at exact 2:30. So we are expecting more and more number of participants can join the tomorrow session also. So definitely, finally, I want to give one more final instruction and a final request from you people is please go through the NEP 2020 and you can compare that document with the previous documents and critically analyze what the knowledge we have gained by today's session that will be more and more helpful and applicable for the next reading of the NEP 2020. So by this final information, we are going to end up today's session. So have a nice day, be safe at home, and be active in the webinars. Be prepared for the tomorrow webinar. Thank you one and all.